Here's a guy who has far more information than I do, obviously. As we go around with Sam Amick coming up at 8:05 from USA Today. There is nobody more inside in baseball than Bob Nightengale. It's Dave, it's Jay. Good morning. Thank you for joining us because I know you are a busy young man. How are you?
Doing well. How about you guys? Thank you.
We are, we're just wondering. we keep seeing all the things associated with baseball returning. I'm not entirely sure, and I'm curious from somebody who has forgotten more about covering the sport than I have. What is your confidence level that we're going to get even a 60-game season when it's all said and done?
Well, I'm very confident that the proposals and everything else are very well done, and that it should come off. We're going to have some. We're going to have a lot of guys test positive when they show up next week. But you're right. I mean, with the record amount of cases yesterday, so Major League Baseball says just kind of holding their breath, when that they can pull this off. They don't know any more than anybody else, but they're trying to give this a try.
When we look at, we cover the NBA obviously too, being in Sacramento with the Kings, and we see, that those unions seem to have a good working relationship between the Players Association and the owners there. Far different from what we've seen with Rob Manfred, Tony Clark, and that relationship. What I wonder is, as we get closer and closer, are we going to see a lot of baseball players just saying, you know what, 60 games, traveling back and forth, I don't see it happening. Do you see a decent amount, even if there is a season? Do you see a decent amount of players electing not to go?
I really don't. Right now I haven't heard any player that's going to do that. Even the higher risk guys. So I don't think anybody else could do it. Unlike the NBA, at least they're starting a whole new season. With only 60 games, everybody's got a chance. We're talking about 30% of a normal season. So I just don't see some of these guys, looking at their teammates in the eyes and saying, "Hey, see you next spring. You're on your own." And you certainly can't come out and say, "I'm staying away strictly because of money." Health, okay, but not money. I think you alienate your fan base, and you lose any chance too for endorsements and all that.
Bob Nightengale, USA Today, joining us. Bob, the one thing I have been looking at when it comes to these public negotiations between the union and MLB, and it's just been an absolute mess. We've got a collective bargaining agreement getting ready to expire on December 1st, 2021. How much of the mess that we saw in these negotiations do you think is going to carry over when these two sides have to come to the table again to negotiate a new CBA here in less than 2 years?
Well, yeah, I think it's going to be a big carryover. There was just downright hatred and hostility in these things. It kind of just carried over to the streets. And, if you can't come up with an agreement during a pandemic with, 42 million Americans unemployed, the death rate, what's going on in the country, how are you going to do it in normal times? So, I'm not sure how this is going to come off.
Has it already, forgive me if some of this has already been decided, but for example, just kind of the nuts and bolts here. Somebody bats 420, 430, whatever. Are they going to go with the fact that there's no way they could qualify for a full season batting title and not put it in the record book? Have they discussed asterisks or anything like that? Obviously, home runs, RBI, those records aren't going to get hit because they're total numbers, but something like an average, somebody hits 415, are they going in the book like Ted Williams?
Yeah, they are. I think there will be an asterisk in everybody's mind, obviously. I don't think it will be an official asterisk at all. Saying that if someone goes below, Bonnie Gibson, 1.12 ERA. But those are only two that really jump out, or maybe a team's winning percentage. Someone could break the all-time winning percentage, whatever that is. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that have hit 400 over 60 games. But to do it over 162 obviously hasn't happened since 1941. So I don't think there'll be an asterisk in the record book, but there'll be an asterisk in everybody's minds.
Bob, we've seen different government officials come out and say, hey, there is absolutely no way we're going to have fans in the stands. We've seen government officials come out and say, hey, we would really like to put fans in the stands. Obviously, it seems like MLB is going to defer to local and state governments when it comes to that. Has there been talk around the league of how that could possibly provide a competitive advantage for teams in states that allow them to have fans versus, well, like a team in the state of California, as we know, the governor here said no fans. Has there been talk about that becoming a competitive advantage and or disadvantage?
It hasn't been brought up, but it's a fabulous question. You're right. I mean, how unfair is that for some teams in the states, say Texas, that they can have fans, others don't. I mean, it's a big advantage if you're if you're a Houston Astros fan or a Texas Ranger fan, facing the Oakland A's. It's like, okay, they have fans, they can scream and yell, but the other guys can't. So, yeah, I'm surprised that people are talking about having fans so fast. I thought maybe it would be late in the season, but not early. I'm not sure that's going to come across, particularly with the rate spiking the way it is in the Sunbelt states.
I was reading yesterday, suspensions and fines, or both, if managers come out and jump the umpire on a bad call. I assume, Bob, that also, what's really funky to me is, seventh inning of whatever game, and pitcher A drills hitter A in the neck with a fastball, and hitter runs out to the mound, and here we go. I assume it's just the threat of fines and suspensions is all you can do to guard against something like a brawl.
Yeah, the ball's a big thing. I mean, now, with the managers and umpires, I mean, with instant replay, nobody seems to, argue anymore. There's no point. But yeah, especially with the bad blood between Houston Astros and a number of teams, like the Los Angeles Dodgers, there's going to be stiff fines and suspensions. With a short season, I mean, if you miss 10 games, that's an awful lot of time missed, for a fight. So, yeah, I mean, that's enforced strictly because of the social distancing. No fight, no brawls are allowed. You wonder if that could possibly, if that can possibly happen all season long. You got to think there's got to be a brawl sometime.
Well, and then the other thing, which might even be more difficult in a sense, I'm thinking is, okay, let's say the Dodgers, for example, clinch the NL West for the 8,000th straight year. And in that clinching game, which I guess it's a little less exciting. Let's go all the way to the World Series. We made it through. World Series is here, and I won't say the Dodgers. The Yankees win the World Series, because of course the Dodgers won't, because that would require them to perform in the World Series.
Stop.
How do you... there's no celebrations, right? It would be so crazy. Final pitch, strikeout. Is everybody just kind of jumping up and down in their own bubble? No celebrations. That's crazy. Bob?
Did we lose Bob?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Sorry, we couldn't hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I can't see guys not celebrating. I mean, obviously, everybody's testing several times a week and all that. You're supposed to be, virus free. There's no way they can stop guys from, dogpiling in the mound and pouring champagne. They don't want they don't want the photographers or anybody else close by. I bet they gotta let that go, particularly because they've been together for 3 months.
Yeah, Bob Nightengale from USA Today joining us this morning. All these subplots are really interesting, but I want to get back to some of the more interesting tweaks we're going to see on the field, specifically if a game goes to extra innings. Starting a runner on second base, curious from which side, to the best of your knowledge, was pushing more for this? Was it the players or ownership? And specifically, what are players' thoughts on this change to the game?
Well, it was pushed by both sides, really. A lot of it was because just the safety and health protocols, and then the fact you're having a short spring, guys won't be ready to pitch much. They think it would just be a nightmare having games go deep in extra innings. Now, the Players Association actually proposed games ending in a tie that went deep into extra innings, so 15, 16 innings or so. MLB said they'd talk about it, but no agreement was ever reached, or never went past that stage. So we'll see. Ends games, it's going to end games quickly. I saw a stat where I think in the minor league, 65% of those extra inning games now end in the 10th, because of the runner on second.
Bob Nightengale writes for USA Today. He is as insider as it gets. B Nightengale on Twitter. Bob, I know it's early. Appreciate you joining us, and hope to talk to you throughout the very abbreviated season.
Sure, my pleasure. Thank you, guys.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show on Sports 1140 KHTK.